Welcome to Marvel Tunes!
Previously, on the spectacular Spider-Man, our hero Peter Parker was dealing with some personal struggles while trying to maintain his secret identity as Spider-Man. He gained some new power in the form of the symbiote, which happened to be influencing Peter's behavior, so he gets rid of it. However, Eddie and the symbiote decide to join forces against a common enemy. Spider-Man manages to defeat them both and gets rid of the symbiote and protects all his loved ones. In this video, I will be talking about the spectacular Spider-Man Season 2 Part 1 from start to finish in detail. While on patrol, Spider-Man gets attacked by Venom and he starts taking over him, but Spidey falls off the building and wakes up realizing it's just a dream. At the docks, Mysterio, who intends to save humanity from the evils of technology, steals some shipping crates. At school, Peter and Gwen have an awkward, unspoken interaction, which doesn't excel because Liz shows up and asks Peter to tutor her. Mysterio attacks an armored vehicle and is then confronted by Spider-Man. Mysterio defeats Spider-Man easily and leaves with the stolen weapons. The next night, he attacks Oscorp trying to steal their technology. Spider-Man shows up, but Mysterio releases bats after him. While he is distracted, he makes off with the technology. However, Spider-Man learns that bats are advanced robots and latches onto the service just as it vanishes. Mysterio arrives at his base but is confronted by Spider-Man. He accepts that he uses technology to perform his magic and attacks him. Spider-Man is unable to differentiate between what's real and what's not, so he tries to only use his spider sense as guide and manages to disable all the traps. Mysterio sends out his robotic clones as he tries to escape, but the real one gets spotted and unmasked, revealing to be Quentin Beck, and Spider-Man arrests him. After the cops leave, Phineas Mason meets the real Beck and calls the master planner, informing him that everything is going as planned. Peter returns home and gets a call from Norman Osborn, who wants him to join Connor's lab. Somewhere in Africa, Sergei Kravinoff uses his bare hands and manages to confront and tame a wild and sick rhinoceros. He meets Calypso, who reveals that their American benefactor wants him to hunt down Spider-Man. At the lab, Peter meets Dr. Connors and thanks him for the second chance. He also meets Miles Warren, who asks Dr. Connors about his lizard DNA research, but gets turned down. At night, Spider-Man gets ambushed by Sergei, but our hero manages to shake him off and hangs him by his ankles to a street lamp. He frees himself and uses a sample of Spider-Man's torn costume, which leads him to ESU's science lab, where he meets Miles, who claims to have given Spider-Man his powers. Sergei demands for the same powers, so Miles infuses him with a mixture of lion, leopard, and cheetah DNA, transforming him into a beast. He attacks Spider-Man, who recognizes him, but tells him to call him Kraven. Their fight leads them to a museum, as this time around, Kraven happens to give Spider-Man a hard time. He knocks Spider-Man outside, so our hero tries to cage him between trees with his webbing and manages to knock him out, but Calypso saves him when Spidey is distracted. Next day, Spider-Man interrogates a bookie named Blackie Gaxton, looking for Mysterio's stolen equipment, which vanished from the base. He learns about the Master Planner, who has been hiring thugs. Mason learns that Spider-Man is closing in and informs the Master Planner. At the penitentiary, the guard learns that Adrian Toombs is a hologram and Beck is an android. They also learn that Sandman has escaped with Rhino. At the Ravencroft Asylum, Dr. Octopus is attending a therapy session with Electro, but Kraven breaks in and frees them. Electro decides to leave without Dr. Octopus. Meanwhile, MJ talks to Peter and tells him to make a decision on Gwen and Liz. They get interrupted as Vulture and Electro attack, so he changes into Spider-Man and attacks Electro, but he electrocutes everyone on the ice skating rink. Spider-Man manages to web Vulture onto the Christmas tree, and Electro tries to attack Spidey, but electrocutes Vulture and burns down the tree. Flash Thompson saves Liz, and Spider-Man saves him. Electro follows Spider-Man, who takes him to a garage full of tires and tricks him into using his powers to seal him in molten rubber. Sandman and Rhino ambush him and toy around with him a bit, so Spider-Man lures them to the docks. He opens a fire hydrant and turns Sandman into mud. He then tricks Rhino into jumping onto the frozen ocean as it shatters, causing him to sink. Sandman attacks him again, but gets frozen by Spider-Man's fast thinking. He then gets attacked by Kraven as Mysterio comes from behind, so he tries to run away. Kraven finds him and throws him down a shopping mall. Mysterio joins them and using his bot tries to explode Spider-Man, but Spidey saves people while it explodes on Kraven. After webbing Kraven, he catches Mysterio with his webs and defeats him easily. However, Mason manages to extract all of them in time, except for Mysterio. Dr. Octopus shows up to the hideout and introduces himself as the master planner. Mason tells him that they just need to do testing. Meanwhile, Norman is with a detonation expert who is trying to bring down an old building. Suddenly, the bomb gets activated, but Spider-Man shows up and manages to shoot them out to safety. He runs away from the bombing and safely stands on top of the rubble. However, they are being watched by Vulture and Dr. Octopus, who activated the bombs. Elsewhere, Gwen talks to MJ about Peter liking Liz and not her. Suddenly, everything at the coffee shop goes wrong, so everyone starts leaving. Gwen gets electrocuted and Vulture carries her away. Peter sees this and follows Electro as Spider-Man. Electro starts attacking him, but he manages to evade all his attacks and lands one of his own. Vulture arrives at the hideout and they call Captain George Stacy, Gwen's father. Doctor asks him to get the global portal codes, which would give them access to all government computers if he wants his daughter back alive. Spider-Man captures Mason and uses some careful persuasion to make him talk. He uses underwater to enter the Master Planner's building. Dr. Octopus sends Electro after him, while he watches Captain Stacy walk into the monitor room, and as Vulture creates the distraction, he inserts in the chip to extract data. Spider-Man meets Gwen, but Electro attacks and zaps Gwen as she goes unconscious. Their fight disrupts the Master Planner's system, so he tells Electro to fight somewhere else. Spider-Man instigates Electro by calling him Max, Maximus, and a bunch of other names, so he starts attacking relentlessly and destroys everything, causing water to enter the hideout. Captain Stacy demands to speak to Gwen before he shares the chip's data with the Master Planner, so the Doctor grabs an injured Electro, which reveals his identity, as his arms start attacking Spider-Man and grab Gwen. Spider-Man uses Electro to electrocute Doctor's arms, so the Doctor shows up in person and attacks him. They both start fighting each other, but Spider-Man uses his arms to destroy all the equipment, which makes Doctor angry, and he starts losing control. He turns on the hideout's self-destruction mode and escapes. Spider-Man hurts his leg and gets stuck under a huge machine, but he manages to lift it in time to save Gwen and even grab Electro before leaving in one of the tubes. Later, Liz comes to Peter's house and confesses her feelings. While swinging through the city, he sees a glimpse of Eddie Brock, but when he double-checks, he vanishes. At school, Gwen informs MJ that Peter and Liz are a couple. Peter meets Harry, who returned from Europe, and even gets a glimpse of Green Goblin. Harry asks Gwen to go with him to Flash's birthday party, then they all decide to go together. Elsewhere, Sandman meets Hammerhead, who tells him to stop the oil tanker so they can steal it. At Flash's party, Peter spots Eddie, but after listening to the radio, he leaves. He arrives at the tanker and fights Sandman, while Hammerhead's men steal the oil. Spider-Man tries to fight him, but he manages to overpower him as he is using the beach's sand, making him more powerful than ever. Sandman jumps onto the ship, causing Hammerhead to fail as he starts destroying the whole ship. He jumps and slices the ship in half, then uses the sand underneath to attack Spider-Man. The oil catches on fire. Spider-Man sees Venom and gets captured by Sandman, but he lets go. He then saves people who got stuck in the ship and even saves Spider-Man. He contains the explosion and his pieces fall in the ocean, but he survives. Spider-Man goes to where he buried the symbiote, but doesn't realize he got followed. As he leaves, Eddie starts digging with a sledgehammer. Thugs carrying duffel bags run down an alley, but Spider-Man in black and white costume captures them. But when cops arrive, he attacks them and flees with the duffel bags. Following morning, J. Jonah Jameson watches his son Colonel Jameson grow bigger as his clothes get ripped off. Dr. Connors reveals that he has been infected by alien spores, which lived on. The symbiote and the Earth's environment doesn't suit them. While going back to the Daily Bugle, Jameson learns about Spider-Man's attack on the police and wants his son Colonel Jupiter to bring him to justice. That evening, Spider-Man gets attacked by Venom, who taunts him before throwing him onto a fuse box, which falls, causing the car to explode, and the building catches on fire. Colonel Jupiter decides to help, while Spider-Man and Venom continue fighting. However, Venom decides to leave as soon as Colonel arrives, then they both save all the people stuck inside the burning building. The driver blames Spider-Man for the fire, so Colonel Jupiter offers to help Spider-Man explain his innocence to the police. Spider-Man refuses to stick around and risk being forced to reveal his identity. He leaves John on the floor as he swings away while Venom watches from afar. At school, Gwen agrees to go out with Harry. Next day, John gets attacked by Venom, who pretends to be Black Spider-Man, leaving him enraged. He tries to follow him, but finds Spider-Man and attacks him. Spider-Man tries to calm Colonel Jupiter, while he trashes the planetarium, trying to attack and capture our hero. He lures him near the generator and electrocutes him with 2 million volts, which drives away the spores, and he loses his powers, leaving him heartbroken. At the Daily Bugle, Venom arrives and reveals to everyone that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Coming up next on the Spectacular Spider-Man, the Daily Bugle publishes that Peter is Spider-Man, and Venom tries to unmask him in front of everyone. New villains join the already heated and packed underworld as gang wars begin, and we find Green Goblin at the epicenter of all the chaos.
If you like this recap, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Marvel Toons, as there's more to come your way.